All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I still really want a specialized LA Sprint. Yo, welcome back to the channel, boys and girls. As you can see, we have another wheel set here in our studios or our bike shop, or what I really like to call my actual living room. Anyway, let's get this package open and we will see what is inside. I'm really excited. First and foremost, we got some spare spokes, which is really nice. Explore your limits, extra parts. Ooh, very nice packaging. Got, oof. Alrighty, check that out, guys. 65 millimeters. Yo, man, these look sick, fantastic. It even says, you can't see here, it says outstanding performance, which is funny because that's what my wife says. Anyway, let's get these things weighed. We'll take all this extra packaging and protection off and we will see how much these things weigh. Let's continue. Now, before we do a full breakdown and deep dive of these wheels, I do want to say a big thank you to Elitewheels for sending me out these wheels to test and to try out. And I do have a 15% off code for you guys if you order directly from Elitewheels website. I'll be sure to include that code in this video as well as in the description. But the code is Patrick15 to receive 15% off your purchase. Another thing too is if you are in the Toronto area or in Canada just in general, then please reach out to One Sigma, who is an official Elitewheels distributor for Canada, including Toronto. You can either contact them through their website or through Instagram, and they will be sure to take care of you. I mentioned them in my previous video on my Elite Drive 45 wheels, and they have also too been really great to work with. The second thing I want to mention is this video, it isn't just an unboxing. At the time of this video, I've already done about 500 miles or 800 kilometers on these wheels. So I'm going to be also sharing my thoughts on how these wheels feel out in the real world. Now, the thing is, in some of the criticism that I've received and that I've also been seeing in some of the comments, not just on my videos, but other YouTubers as well, is that there's been a little bit of criticism being that not all of us bike reviewers are engineers or mechanics or professional racers, etc. So the question becomes, if you aren't in these fields, does your opinion actually matter on these wheels? And in my case, of course, our opinions still matter because not everyone is always concerned with all this super technical data. Not everyone is going to be out there on the road racing day in and day out. And so I'm hoping going forward that the reviews that I do can come from a more practical approach, if you guys haven't figured that out by now. And it's just interesting to me because it seems like when it comes to Chinese frames and Chinese wheels, there's always this extra level of scrutiny when it comes to reviewing these wheels. Rarely do I ever hear anyone talking about the major brands out there as far as all this critical testing and engineering and asking for all these various data sheets, because the assumption is probably that the wheels just work. But we all know that regardless of how much you spend on wheels or a bike frame, mistakes can happen and there are errors and there's recalls out there. So now that all of that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the specs on these wheels. So these wheels are Elitewheels Drive 65D wheels, which is their latest offering. What makes these wheels special is that the depth on these is 65 millimeter depth wheels. So if you're all about going fast and being aero on the flats, these are definitely the wheels for you. The inner width on these are the same as all their other drive wheels, which is 21 millimeter inner and 28 millimeter outer width here. The spoke pattern on these is 2-to-1 here. Same with the both. That's actually both front and rear. The spoke count on these is 21 spokes for the front, 24 in the rear. The spokes are, of course, carbon fiber, meaning that they're a little bit lighter, yet a bit more stiff than comparing them to steel spokes here. The nipple type is an alloy secure lock here. Now, just the overall aesthetics for these wheels, as you guys have probably figured it out now, whether it's in this video or even my previous video on the 45D wheels, which I do believe the 45D wheels are now discontinued, but some of Elitewheels distributors may have some sets laying around. So if that is a depth you wanted to try out, definitely contact them. But just the finish of these wheels, as you can see, it's a glossy marbling black. The good thing with these is that the rim tape for tubeless is installed from the factory. Of course, they include extra spokes, the tubeless valves, all the things you would expect coming from a wheel at this price range. And speaking of price, The retail on these is $1,189 USD, which is extremely competitive for this price market when you consider who their sort of competition and target is as well. Rider weight limit on these is 130 kilograms, which is actually a fair bit more than I thought they would be considering how light these wheels are. And then, of course, the recommended tire size for these is 25 to 38C tires. I'm actually interested in maybe I might throw some 32C tires on here just to see how they perform with those set of tires. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that they also include ceramic bearings, and the free hub compatibility will work with both Shimano as well as SRAM's XDR. Alrighty, boys and girls, it is time for a real world weight test here of these brand new Elite Drive 65 millimeter D wheels here, and the LP record of the day is this James Brown live at the Apollo Revolution of the Mind. So of course I'm sure you guys are familiar with who James Brown is. He's got such awesome hits as This Is a Man's World, Sex Machine, Stay on the Scene, Get On Up, I'm Like a Sex Machine, Get On Up. Alrighty, so first off, let us weigh the front wheel. Now, before we weigh this, I just want to say that when it comes to this weight, the tubeless rim tape is installed and included in this weight. However, the tubeless valves are not included. So first off is the front wheel. Front wheel weighs, we have 676 grams, 676. Already keep that in mind. 676 for the front wheel. 676. Alrighty. And for the rear wheel, we have here, we have 812 grams. 812 grams. So let's do some math here, right? Alrighty. So we have plus 812 grams gives us a grand total of 1,488 grams for the set, which is really, really good considering these are 65 millimeter depth wheels, and the internal width on these is 21 millimeters width on that, with the external being, I believe it's what, 28 or 30? I don't know. But let's continue. Next up, let's talk about shipping. So Elitewheels provides free shipping and a free tax-free or duty-free service from a service called DPD, specifically for US customers. It's nice that Elitewheels provides free shipping. However, this specific service, DPD, isn't exactly friendly when it comes to tracking your package along the way. So what's going to happen is it's not going to update in the tracking services until it reaches the shores of the United States. So it might be a couple of weeks before you see your package make any sort of movement. So it's not only until it goes through the custom clearance in the United States that you'll begin to see all of your usual updates and tracking. So it might just be a couple weeks before you see anything, but overall, door to door shipping took about 3 weeks. Moving on, let's talk about the bearings and the hub. So I mentioned this in my Elite Drive 45D wheels that there was an issue with the bearings, particularly the front wheels, those bearings where the bearings inside the hub, there was a little bit of play and it was just enough to have a little bit of brake rub. And as it turns out, that was specific to those first generations of the hub design and bearings. And I know I'm not the only one that has reported this issue. The good thing is if you are an owner of that first generation, Elitewheels is replacing those hubs to remove that bearing play inside the hub so that you shouldn't have any wobbling effect, no speed wobbles, no brake rub, nothing like that. And I'm happy to report that with these brand new 65D wheels, that's straight from the factory, there is no issue with bearing play, nothing like that. I think these are either their 4th or 5th generation of these hubs or bearing design. No issues, no brake rubs. Everything is good to go from the factory. So you can rest assured that the issue with the bearings play has been resolved. Now, with all of that being said, and I'm going to touch on this once I'm out on the road, is that these wheels aren't as stiff as the Winspace Hypers, which is the natural competitor to these wheels. And I suspect the reason why they aren't as stiff, it boils down to the hubs. And I think that even though there isn't any play per se in the bearings here. They might just be just loose enough and provide just enough flex that, for example, say there's maybe a 0.0 millimeter amount of wiggle or flex in those bearings. That could translate to, say, maybe upwards of a millimeter of flex at the rim. Again, I'm not an engineer here. I'm just more or less extrapolating what's happening. But I do know that the reason, or the main reason why the Elite wheels aren't as stiff as the Hypers mainly comes down to the hubs and the bearings, because you got to figure the rims are carbon, the spokes are also carbon, so it has all the makings to be super stiff as the Hypers, but it just turns out that they aren't as stiff. Alrighty, and here is a free hub sound test on these Elite Drive 65D era wheels, and the D stands for never mind. Let's just get started. And the final thing I want to touch on in this segment has to do with warranty here. And I think warranty is extremely important because this is where you start to see the difference between brands that are selling wheels or even bike frames from the Far East compared to some of the bigger competitors out there like Specialized, Envy, or Zip. So Elite Wheels, they offer a 3-year limited warranty that is exclusive to the owner, the original owner of the wheels. So if you have an issue with your wheels, like a cracked rim, etc., you would go to their website, you would fill out a service form, and then the customer service would work with you to assess the situation and then figure out the next steps as well. You would also include some pictures of your wheels so that they have the visuals of what's happening. And then from there, they'll either replace the wheel or they'll offer a discount on a new set of wheels, and you may or may not be on the hook for postage back to China, which that can be a serious expensive expense to have if you are on the hook for having to pay for the wheels to go back to China. So this is where other brands like Envy or Zip, this might be something for you to consider if warranty is that important to you. I'm not saying that this is a good thing or a bad thing, just something for you to note that Envy, while they may be more than twice the price for these wheels, for example, they do offer a lifetime warranty and service repair. And so that's where a lot of your money is going when you are paying that much for wheels. So again, this is not a plus or minus. You have to decide what's important to you. If that's not important to you, then of course there's a lot of money to be saved by going with a wheel brand and manufacturer from the Far East. Alrighty, it is the beginning of September 1st, and man, it is still 90 degrees here in Chicago. It's actually a bit windy today also as well. So we are actually on our way to the brand new Specialized shop just west of the loop in Fulton Market. It's going to be interesting to see what you guys think about my bike, considering my Velobuild 168 is basically just a knockoff replica of the Tarmac SO7. So yeah, we're just doing a recovery ride today, guys, and I'll check in with you guys a little bit later. Yo, look at that black S-Worky. They kind of want a black helmet like that. I'm so used to wearing white, but yo, that was kind of sick. I actually wonder if they have a white one in stock. Let's see. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I still really want a Specialized LA Sprint. I especially want this color right here. This is totally a color I would get. I know it's not for everyone, and I think they have this is what, probably a 52. I think they have a 56 in stock, so who knows? Maybe end of the year I will probably have an LA Sprint. We will see. Alrighty, so a question I've been getting all the time, as you guys know, is how do these Elite Drive 65D wheels compare to my Winspace Hyper 65 wheels, first generation Hypers? And you can definitely tell right off the bat that these wheels are lighter than the Hypers. However, they're not as stiff as the Hypers for sure. And so you have to decide what's important to you, whether you want to focus on stiffness or lightweight capabilities. If you're someone who likes to climb but wants to still be aero, then yeah, for sure, the lightweight of the Elite makes more sense. For me, for racing, for fast rides, I do prefer the stiffness of the Hypers for sure. Now, with all that being said, as a training wheel, yeah, I definitely like these a lot. You know, the performance is good, and it's really hard to
provide tangible evidence on which wheel is better, I have to say you probably should focus on sort of the sensation that you get when riding them. These wheels, being that they're a little bit lighter, a little bit more flexy, they definitely are more comfortable than the Hypers, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. And that's where you have to decide for yourself.
Bike check, bike check, bike check. So we got the Velobuild 168 here with the Elite Drive 65D wheels. Man, that looks so sick here. Of course, we got my Supercast bar tape here. Ooh, the stem is almost slammed. We got about, what is that, like 10 millimeters of spacers there, and I need that basically just in order to have space to run the cables, because the stem is a 130 negative 17 degree stem. But anyway, all right, so as I get down here, so about these wheels, guys, I really do like these wheels. I think they do offer a lot of performance here. They're a really good wheel for training because they are really comfortable over bumps. Now, regarding the actual setup of the wheels, I am running 25C tires here and just regular butyl inner tubes. I'm doing that on purpose is because this is the same identical tire and inner tube setup that I have on my Winspace Hyper wheels. And so it's, you know, it's really hard to sort of explain performance, because performance can mean a lot of different things to a whole bunch of other people. And you can say, oh, they really roll well or they spin well. And it seems like apparently if you aren't some sort of engineer, that your opinions on wheels, bikes, etc. is invalid. And you know, that's not necessarily the case. So I'm just gonna focus on just overall sensation with these wheels. And I'm gonna try to do that going forward with some of these reviews, because I think sensation is probably a better way to describe what's going on. Man, I am really sweating right now. It's like 90 degrees right now. Anyway, so like I said, these wheels are really comfortable over bumps. I like that, especially when you're out on the saddle for long days, you know, 60, 70, even 80 miles. So if that's a priority for you, I would say these are definitely the way to go. If you are someone like me that wants to feel all of the sort of road sensations, you want to know at all times what your wheels are doing, then I do prefer the Winspace Hyper wheels in that respect. So for fast rides, for racing, I prefer the Hypers. For everything else, I think these are a good choice. So if you're climbing and you want something that's a little bit lighter, go with these. Otherwise, you really can't go wrong with either wheel. So I think for right now, I'll do a little bit more miles and kilometers as time goes on, but I'm gonna leave the review at that. I do wanna give a big thank you to Elitewheels for sending me these wheels out to try out. But as always, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down below, and I will check you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.